We hear a lot about omega-3 fatty acids today and how important they are for human health and nutrition. But the question a lot of people wonder about is, how do you know if you're deficient in omega-3? There actually is no medical test that directly determines whether you're deficient in omega-3 fatty acids. They could kind of like look at your blood, the fatty acid content of your blood cells as an indirect measure, but there are certain signs that indicate that you're probably low in omega-3 fatty acids, which I'm going to talk about in this video. But let's talk about why do you need omega-3 fatty acids. Well, there's actually only two kinds of essential fat in human nutrition. One of them are called omega-6 fatty acids, and that's exemplified by linoleic acid. Omega-6 fatty acids are found in everything. I mean, they're in vegetable oils, they're all over the place. Nuts, meats, they're easy to get. It's very unlikely to be deficient in omega-6. As a matter of fact, most people get way too much omega-6 in relation to omega-3. The problem with having too much omega-6 is the omega-6 fatty acids are nutritional precursors for an essential fatty acid produced in the body from omega-6 called arachidonic acid. Now, arachidonic acid has gotten some publicity in bodybuilding circles because supplements of it are thought to provide some anabolic effects. I did a video on that, so if you want to know exactly how that happens, just do a search for my name and arachidonic acid, and I explained in that video the possible anabolic effects. But arachidonic acid is also the precursor for a series of highly inflammatory fat-like substances called eicosanoids. Some eicosanoids are inflammatory, some are anti-inflammatory. Turns out that most of the inflammatory eicosanoids, which can cause a lot of problems health-wise, are produced from arachidonic acid, which in turn is promoted by omega-6 intake. Theoretically, the ratio between omega-6 and omega-3 fatty acids should be 4-to-1, meaning 4 times as much omega-6 as omega-3. In actual reality, most people get as much as 20 times more omega-6 than omega-3, and that's not good because that can exacerbate various inflammatory conditions in the body. There's also a lot of confusion about omega-3. I'll talk about in a minute, but omega-3 fatty acids basically are also precursors for eicosanoids, but the type of eicosanoids produced, eicosanoids, I should explain what they mean. They're basically fat-like chemicals produced from omega-6 or omega-3 fatty acids. They have like a hormonal-like action. They're involved in all kinds of aspects of body function, control of blood pressure, heart rate. They're involved in thinking. They're involved in muscle metabolism, many functions in the body. And as I said, the omega-3, they tend to favor anti-inflammatory eicosanoids, which of course tone down inflammation and reduce for things like pain and joint pain and that type of thing, which I'll also talk about. But the beneficial anti-inflammatory eicosanoids that are produced by omega-3 as a precursor, they are of great help in boosting your immune function. They aid lung function. In other words, when you have a good amount of omega-3 fatty acids, just for give you a quick example, you actually are able to breathe better when you exercise, which in turn gets more oxygen into your blood, which in turn increases energy utilization in cells, which in turn decreases muscle fatigue. So you can see it's like a cascade of events. When you have a good amount of omega-3, the bottom line is you're able to train harder with less fatigue. Omega-3 is very important for cardiovascular health. Omega-3 tends to favor it's a little controversial. Some people say that omega-3 raises what they call low-density lipoprotein cholesterol, or LDL cholesterol, which is associated with cardiovascular disease. However, what's often overlooked about LDL is that it's only atherogenic, or let's say negative, when it's oxidized. And there's a lot of things you can do to prevent the oxidation of LDL. And furthermore, the type of LDL that's increased by, let's say, omega-3 or fatty fish intake is actually what they call the large, fluffy LDL, which is less prone to oxidation than the small, dense LDL. That's highly prone to oxidation. What increases small, dense LDL? Sugar. Sugar and processed sugar foods, they are, and high carbohydrates. High carbohydrates, high fructose intake, these favor the production of small, dense LDL, which actually does increase your risk of heart attacks and strokes, which is very ironic because a lot of the American Heart Association, all these things, they all recommend like low-fat, high-carbohydrate diets, which is just probably the worst thing you could have, can consume, I should say, if you're interested in preventing heart disease. Not good. Also, the omega-3 fatty acids are involved in and endocrine response. They're involved in testosterone metabolism and insulin metabolism. The omega-3s get incorporated into the cell membrane, where they kind of make the cell membrane more flexible. And in doing so, they allow the various cellular, what's the word I'm looking for? The components that interact with receptors, I'm sorry, they actually make receptors, cellular receptors, more amenable to various hormones such as insulin and testosterone. So when your cell membranes get hard, and that usually happens from an accumulation of too much cholesterol in the membranes, that actually inhibits hormonal activity in the cell. Now, what our omega-3s are, the type of fat they are, they're called a polyunsaturated fat, which means that they're highly unsaturated, which on a practical sense means that they're unfortunately also highly prone to oxidation. So what that means is if you use an omega-3 supplement, let's say a fish oil supplement, you always want to refrigerate it as soon as you open it, because keeping it out in room temperature or warm environment will cause it to oxidize, and oxidized omega-3s actually can have a reverse effect of promoting negative health effects. So you always want to keep it refrigerated. Another key aspect to know about omega-3 fatty acids is that in human nutrition, as I said earlier, there's only two essential kinds of fat. One was the omega-6 fats that I mentioned, characterized by linoleic acid. The other one is omega-3 fatty acids. And the nutrition authorities, the one they talk about is called alpha linoleic acid, or ALA. Now, that's a bit problematic because ALA is actually a precursor for the more active omega-3 fatty acids, which are specifically eicosapenoic acid, they're a little hard to pronounce, and docosahexaenoic acid, or EPA and DHA. Those are the actual bioactive omega-3 fatty acids, and they are not produced very efficiently from ALA. And as a matter of fact, in mammals, only 0.2% of ALA is converted into EPA. So it's extremely low conversion. Women, for some reason, probably because of estrogen, are able to convert more of ALA into the more active EPA, DHA supplements, especially EPA. DHA, not much. In almost anyone, the body can't convert more than maybe 2% of ALA into DHA, because now I'm not going to go too much into the chemistry. I don't want to drive you crazy here, but the majority of when you ingest alpha linoleic acid, for example, flax oil, which a lot of people call a source of omega-3 fatty acids, is 57% ALA. So it's an excellent source of ALA, but any excess ALA, first of all, as I said, most of it is not turned into the active omega-3 fatty acids. And second, any excess ALA undergoes beta oxidation or use for energy production rather than active omega-3 metabolism. And as I said, there's no direct test to test a omega-3 deficiency, but there are certain, let's say, signs that you could look for in the body that would suggest that you're probably low on omega-3 fatty acids. One of them is skin irritation and dryness, as well as increased incidence of acne. The reason why you get increased incidence of acne is because of the fact that, again, omega-3, the preformed omega-3, again, from now on, anytime I talk about omega-3, I'm referring to DHA and EPA, not ALA, because EPA and DHA are the active forms of omega-3. Anyway, the active forms of omega-3 are highly anti-inflammatory, and acne is an inflammatory skin condition. So when you take, if you're lacking omega-3 and you have any tendency towards acne, the condition is going to be made worse by the lack of omega-3. That's why it affects acne. A lot of bodybuilders who use steroids will get acne. That's one of the signs of heavy steroid use. They get it particularly across their upper back. And they get acne so bad it goes into what they call cystic lesions. Like they look like red pustules all over the back. I remember attending a contest many years ago. I was sitting next to this woman, and she turned to me and she said, one of the guys on stage was doing a back pose, and she said to me, "What are all those red marks across his back? Is that from working out?" And I said, "No." I said, "It's cystic acne, and it most likely results from heavy steroid use. The guy probably is heavy on steroids." And, the reason why bodybuilders get acne is it's not so much an omega-3 fatty acid deficiency, the fact that steroids increase the production of sebum, which is this stuff secreted in the hair follicles, which keeps the skin, it has its own oil production glands. It basically keeps the skin moist, and unfortunately, if it's over-secreted, which happens when you take steroids, it can block the ducts, the hair follicle ducts, and then you get a bacteria that gets in there, which loves sebum as a food. It's called P. acnes bacteria. They eat the food and they release inflammatory chemicals, which irritate the skin and cause acne. So now you can see where omega-3 comes in the picture, because omega-3, by its anti-inflammatory activity, will minimize the inflammatory effect produced by the acne bacteria. You can see now how it works. A small study published in 2011 gave women a daily dose of a half a teaspoon of flaxseed oil. It wasn't even actual omega-3 for 3 months. The women who took it experienced decreased skin roughness and increased skin hydration by nearly 40% compared to those who received the placebo. And that was ALA. Omega-3 would actually work much better than ALA for that, or maybe not. Could be that ALA might be better for the skin than actual omega-3. It's hard to say. I don't think anyone's ever tested that. But here's another ALA study. In 2005, a 20-week study gave omega-3 rich hemp seed oil daily to people with atopic dermatitis, which is also called eczema. It's kind of like a reddish rash that some people get on the skin. It causes dry, irritated skin. And the participants who took the hemp seed oil experienced reduced dryness and itchiness and needed less topical medication. Some research has shown that taking omega-3 supplements can reduce acne breakouts, as I said, and skin inflammation. In one study, participants took 4 grams of EPA, which is a preformed omega-3, for 3 months and experienced a 136% increase in their resistance to sunburn. Again, sunburn is an inflammatory condition of the skin caused by excessive exposure to ultraviolet rays, which more or less fries your skin. And that redness that's from the sunburn, that's inflammation. And again, because omega-3 has such good anti-inflammatory effects, that it also will increase your resistance to having a bad sunburn. But needless to say, you have to take the omega-3 before you go in the sun. Once you get the sunburn and you take omega-3, it's not going to do much good, although it might help help you lower the inflammation a little bit quicker than normal. That's just speculation on my part. Another good possible sign of having not enough omega-3 in your diet is depression. Omega-3 fatty acids may help prevent and treat depression. One way it does this is by influencing a brain neurotransmitter. Neurotransmitter is a chemical produced in the brain that allows neurons to send messages to each other. Basically, it's the communication chemical of the brain, if you want to call it that. There's various types of neurotransmitters. One of them is called serotonin. Serotonin is associated with sleep onset and also a feeling of relaxation. And as a matter of fact, I wrote a couple of years ago, I was writing about with so-called roid rage, where some heavy steroid users supposedly flip out and lose their minds, and they become like madmen, like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. When they take a lot of steroids, they want to punch people out and crash cars and all this and that. That's what a lot of scientists who never walked into a gym believe. I'll talk. But the truth of the matter is, before I say this, the truth of the matter is, the real truth about roid rage, just for your own information, is that steroids will not turn a normal, calm person with let's say, who's not a maniac, will not magically turn them into a madman who wants to go out and shoot people or something like that. What they will do is emphasize a aberrant personality. In other words, to put it in idiomatic terms, excuse my language, if you're a prick, taking out those steroids will make you a worse prick. It's that simple. They're not going to turn a nice guy into a prick. It just doesn't happen. But it turns out that the people that, when they've done tests on these people that show, let's say, very bad mental symptoms or let's say mania when they're taking steroids, it turns out that these people tend to have low brain serotonin levels. Again, remember, serotonin calms you down and makes things, any stress you encounter, it makes it easier to handle so you don't freak out. Now, when I wrote the article, I theorized, I had no basis to say this at the time, but I theorized that if people use supplements that increase serotonin, including fish oil again improves the let's say the integrity of serotonin receptors in the brain. And then if they take substances which are actual precursors for serotonin, which would be the amino acid tryptophan or 5-HTP, which is another supplement that also increases serotonin, the combination of those supplements, meaning tryptophan and fish oil, would probably overcome any mental, the anger and the, let's say, the mania that some people experience when they take steroids. It would actually neutralize that. I wrote that maybe 25 years ago. I'm not really sure if what I really haven't followed up. I don't know whether it was actually tested in medical studies, but from a mechanistic point of view, it makes sense. But a 2019 analysis of 26 studies that included 2,160 participants found that taking omega-3 supplements had a beneficial effect on depressive symptoms. Specifically, an omega-3 supplement that contained at least 60% EPA taken at a dosage of 1 gram or less per day appeared to be helpful. Quite frankly, I am skeptical of that study because the studies I've seen and the practical experience I have with people with depression who've used fish oil shows that you need a lot more than 1 gram a day of fish oil or EPA to actually relieve depression. It's more like anywhere from 5 to 10 grams a day of EPA will actually work. Or it works. It takes a little while, but it works probably again through an interaction with serotonin. But I don't think taking 1 gram a day of EPA is going to do much for depression. As a matter of fact, more recent studies that have looked at the effects of fish oil or omega-3 on depression have come up empty, and that's because they have used these low dosages of omega-3. These doses are too low to do anything. The same deal holds for cardiovascular. Some studies have come out saying that omega-3 has no effect on cardiovascular disease prevention. But if you look at the studies, you find that the doses provided in the studies were way too low. They give like 1 gram a day. That's not going to do anything to help prevent cardiovascular disease. You need at least 4 to 5 grams minimum to help prevent cardiovascular. These very poorly designed studies. It's amazing that scientists, some of these guys have PhDs and MDs from Harvard and Ivy League colleges. They don't know this stuff. It's amazing. I'm just absolutely amazed by that. Another thing about how omega-3 affects the brain is attention deficit disorder. Years ago, they discovered, first in monkeys and then in humans, that if pregnant women supplement their diet with omega-3 fatty acids, the fetus actually gets a head start in brain development because 40% of your brain is composed of fat, and that fat is largely one of the omega-3 fatty acids, DHA. So the kid, the baby, is literally born with a head start in intelligence. And when they followed these kids as they went through school, they noticed that the kids that whose mothers supplemented with omega-3 had better grades and better behavior. Now, I'm an example, I'm an example of a child that was horribly deficient in omega-3 fatty acids. My breakfast when I was a kid was, you're not going to believe this, was a cup of coffee and a donut. This is all the way through from kindergarten to like sixth grade. This is what my breakfast was, and yes, I wasn't stupid, but I had definite attention. I had attention deficit disorder, but they didn't have a name for it back then. What they wrote on my school record was that I was emotionally disturbed because I couldn't sit still in class. I was always telling jokes. I couldn't take it seriously. And I also had something called math dyslexia, where I just couldn't comprehend numbers. I was very, very slow at math, which I also think was related to the fact that I was completely deficient in omega-3. I'm surprised that I even survived to adulthood, to tell you the truth. But that's another thing, But anyway, another systematic review and analysis of 6 studies in 4,605 participants published in the journal Nutrition Research in 2018 concluded that an average intake of 1.3 grams of omega-3s per day reduced mild to moderate depression symptoms among older adults compared with a placebo. Now, so that's some of the mental symptoms that you could get from omega-3 deficiency or lack of sufficient omega-3. There's also joint problems. Again, this relates to omega-3 as an anti-inflammatory substance or precursor to anti-inflammatory eicosanoids. Omega-3 provides anti-inflammatory benefits and may provide benefits for those with osteo and rheumatoid arthritis. If you're suffering any kind of joint or, let's say, tendon pain related to inflammation, omega-3 will likely play a role in reducing that pain, although it won't cure it. Only time will actually cure those type of injuries, but omega-3 will probably decrease the intensity of the pain that you feel. Just as omega-3 helps your skin, it also helps your hair. In fact, some dog lovers are aware of the fact that if you give dogs an omega-3 supplement, and unfortunately, a lot of times the omega-3 supplement given to dogs is ALA rather than omega, EPA and DHA. But if you give that supplement to dogs, it gives the dog's coat a beautiful sheen, a very beautiful, high, nice sheen. And basically, it does the same in humans. Omega-3 increases the health of the hair. And what was it? And I think it was one study. They gave women who were losing a little hair. They gave them omega-3 and actually reduced the hair loss. And I'm not sure what that mechanism would be, but nonetheless, that's what happened. So as I said, it's hard to actually figure out if you're low in omega-3 because there's no real direct tests. All they can do is look at, for example, the fatty acid composition of red blood cells, which basically looks at the long-term dietary intake of fat over several months. That can give you some idea of, let's say, the ratio between omega-6 and omega-3. Now, as far as food sources of omega-3, fatty fish by far the best sources. They contain preformed EPA and DHA. That's what you want. And this type of fish that does that is salmon, herring, trout, mackerel, sea bass, and sardines. The low-fat fish is favored by some bodybuilders in their pre-contest dietary regimes like orange roughy. They are not good sources of omega-3. Tuna is a very mediocre source, not a great source of omega-3. Only the real fatty fish, halibut and these kinds, but only these are the ones, the fatty fish really are the true sources of omega-3. And if you hate fish like I do, and like Mr. Olympia, Lee Haney, who won it 8 times, when I interviewed him on his diet, he listed his protein foods. I noticed fish was missing. And I said, Lee, where's fish? You don't eat any fish? Because at that time, all the bodybuilders, and even today, a lot of champion bodybuilders right before a show, like Phil Heath, they literally live on fish because fish is so low in fat, and they think it makes them more muscular. And I said to Lee Haney, I said, where's your fish, Lee? And he says, I hate fish. He didn't eat any fish at all, no tuna, nothing. I'm in the same boat. Although I have to say, when I was a competitive bodybuilder, you're not going to believe what I'm about to tell you, but for I think it was close to 30 years, no, let's say 25 years, I lived on my lunch every day was tuna fish and cottage cheese. That's it. I would use water packed tuna, and if it had oil, I would drain the oil out, and that was my lunch every day for years. And because I ate so much tuna, to this day I can't even go near a can of tuna without getting nauseated. So what I do, and this is what I was pointing out, my point of talking about this, is I use a omega-3 a supplement, fish oil. In my case, I use liquid fish oil, which I keep in the refrigerator. I take about probably about 8 grams a day. I take a little more than is recommended because I have some inflammation in my body. I have arthritis in my shoulders and knees, so I take a little more than it's generally recommended. But again, that's a way of getting the omega-3 fatty acids without having to eat fatty fish. Although, if you do eat fatty fish, you have to eat at least 2 to 3 fish meals a week to get the right amount of omega-3. Now, the two kinds of fish oil supplements is straight fish oil and this krill oil. The krill oil has only one advantage over fish oil. Actually, one disadvantage, one advantage. The disadvantage is that it contains actually much less DHA and EPA than regular fish oil. But the advantage is it's a what they call a phospholipid form of omega-3s, meaning that what is a phospholipid? What does it do? Well, the phospholipid aspect of krill oil allows the omega-3 fatty acids to get better incorporated into cell membranes, so you get a little bit better absorption of krill oil type of fish oil supplement over regular fish oil. But much more importantly, this is recent research, what I'm about to tell you. Only the phospholipid form of omega-3 and DHA, such as krill oil, can actually efficiently enter the brain. And that's very important because fish oil, among the effects of omega-3, and I should have said this in the brain section, but among the effects of the omega-3 is that it can lower the risk of Alzheimer's disease by as much as 50% if you can get it in the brain. And the best way to get in the brain is the phospholipid form. And it's so potent that, this is a little technical, pardon me for saying this, but if you have certain genes called apolipoprotein A4, if you have 2 copies of that, you inherited from your parents, your risk of acquiring Alzheimer's disease goes up about 80%. It doesn't mean that you're going to get Alzheimer's, but in other words, it does increase your risk. It turns out that people with this gene scenario of 2 copies of apolipo A4, they cannot absorb omega-3 fatty acids efficiently in the brain, which could be one reason why having that gene scenario makes them more susceptible. But what the newest studies show is the phospholipid form, krill oil, actually bypasses the apolipoprotein A4, so you do get the omega-3 in the brain. And so you could possibly, even if you have the genetics for increased risk of Alzheimer's, you might actually be able to prevent it. When I found out, even I've been taking fish oil for years, but when I found out that research, I actually started using krill oil capsules in addition to my regular fish oil. So that's just a little tip for you people that are either concerned about Alzheimer's or maybe have close relatives that have Alzheimer's. So it's a preventive technique. Once you have Alzheimer's, in my Applied Metabolics newsletter, one of the early issues, I listed a complete nutritional program that can actually reverse Alzheimer's in the first 2 stages, the early stages. Subscribers can access that article, but I want to emphasize, once you're in the late stages of Alzheimer's, there's no nutritional measure, unfortunately, that will help. It's like the lights on, nobody's home. There's nothing you could do. It's fatal once you get into the late stages. It's inevitable. The great bodybuilder, Larry Scott, who won the first 2 Mr. Olympias, he died of Alzheimer's disease. Very sad. But I just wanted to point that out. So if you're a vegetarian, you might say, well, what do I do if I'm a vegetarian? I'm not going to take fish oil or krill oil. They're animal products. You have no problem, because now they have fish oil, or specifically DHA supplements, that are made from algae, sea algae. They are not an animal product. They're a plant product. So you can get your, the studies that have looked at it show that algae omega-3 is effective in increasing omega-3 status. So that's about it. I hope this helps a bit. Oh boy, this video went a little longer than usual, but I hope you find this information useful. If you want further information, very in-depth, evidence-based information on nutrition, exercise science, ergogenic aids, hormonal therapy, anti-aging research you can use today, fat loss techniques that really work, food supplement science, which supplements work, which don't. I'm going to tell you the truth about food supplements. I'm not associated. I'm not on the payroll of any food supplement company. Unlike a lot of people that do these YouTube videos, they're getting some money from feedback from the supplement companies to bullshit you into buying bad supplements. You won't get that from me. I'm going to tell you the truth because I've always wanted to know the truth, and I'm going to do the same for you in my Applied Metabolics newsletter. It's probably the most truthful medication that on the entire internet, if I say so myself, because there's no lies in there, nothing, only solid truth. I also discuss, like I said, hormonal therapy, ergogenic aids, women's health and fitness. Each issue is 40 to 50 pages, like getting a monthly ebook. Now, you don't have to read the whole thing at once. A lot of people, will see how big each issue is, and they'll say, whoa, I can't read. This is too much. Yeah, but in the meantime, I had it designed so it could be read on any media. You can read on a computer, on an iPad, on your phone. You can even have the articles read to you by free online text, text-to-speech programs. You can use them with the newsletter. It will read you the text. You don't even have to read it yourself. I mean, come on, So anyway, I can't make it easier than that. So subscribe today, www.appliedmetabolics.com. When you subscribe, I'll send you an invitation to join my private Applied Metabolics Facebook page, where every day I post new information on nutrition, exercise, general health. And also subscribers who have access to that Facebook page can ask me questions or comments on, let's say, some of the articles they might have read in Applied or anything else. I also have an email portal on my Applied Metabolics website, which is exclusively for subscribers. They can also ask me short questions, which I'll be happy to answer, but I don't answer unsolicited questions. I no longer answer questions under the YouTube videos because I only have a limited amount of time, and I feel I should devote that to the people that are supporting my work. But you're welcome to leave comments under the videos. Anyone else who wants to answer them, it's fine with me. But I'm sorry, I will not be able to answer questions or comments under the videos. I can no longer do that. I have done it in the past to a certain extent, but I'm not doing it anymore. So I just want to let you know in advance. But if you want to leave comments about suggestions for future videos, that's fine. That's okay. So subscribe today, www.appliedmetabolics.com. If you want to have the best friend you'll ever have, go to your local shelter, adopt a dog. Thank you for listening. This is a long video, but what are you going to do? Go have your fish oil. Take